Hi everyone, it's John. I'm making the dress, and what I have is I have my skirt already cut out, which is either 11 or 12 inches with the fabric, which is like 44 or 45. Then I have the sleeves, which I'm going to mark these real quickly. These little dots are where they're supposed to connect, so I'm just going to put a little dot on the corners, and same with the front of the dress. You have little dots right here and right about here, so that makes those little dots. And then we have the back of the dress, which I am going to do little dots on that also. And do a little dot right there, and flip that upside down and do it right there. And that's close enough. So I'm done with these for right now. Done with my marker. Don't need anything else marked. Now the first thing I want to do is I'm going to work on my sleeves and on the skirt. I need to change my thread back to white, since this is mostly lighter fabrics. With lighter fabrics you want to use white, darker fabrics you want to use black. So I'm just going to stick my white thread on there, and I'm basically using up my serger thread that came with my serger, just to use it up. Thread that up and throw in my bobbin, make sure it's going in the right direction. Bring up the thread. Okay, and I'm going to change my foot. Right now I have on my regular sewing foot, and what I need to have is, I thought I took it out. Should be here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Okay. So what I need is this is a rolled hem foot, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but this rolled hem foot has like a little curve on it, and you stick in your fabric and it rolls it and it stitches the hem at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower that. And if you don't want to use a rolled hem foot for your hem, you can always just roll this over 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, iron it, and then roll it again, iron it, and sew it. I just find that the rolled hem is a lot quicker and a lot faster. All I have to do is throw that right in there. I'm going to cut off these little hanging threads from my fabric. And once you get it started, it goes pretty easily. It's going to beep a couple of times until the fabric's actually underneath where the needle is. There it goes. Make sure that your needle is in the right position, in the center where it needs to be. And what you're going to do is you're going to just hold that about a 1/4 inch over, so it goes into that rolled hem a 1/4 inch, and you just keep on going and doing that until you have the edge done on the skirt. And that stitches right onto that edge. actually goes quite fast. Once you get the hang of doing the rolled hem foot, it actually saves you a lot of time as far as ironing and prep work. It just does it in one quick stitch. Fold over, it gives you a finished edge that looks very professional. You want that 1/4 inch roll all the way to the very end. And that's done. And you're going to snip that off. And you have a nice rolled edge that's finished for your dress. It's rolled over. There's not going to be any fraying. It looks nice and finished on that. And I'm going to set the skirt aside. The bottom part of it is done. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the sleeves. The sleeves, I am going, and you want the back of the fabric up and the front of the fabric down on the machine. I'm going to start that out, stick it right in there, put my foot down, hold my threads, and do the exact same thing. And if it's not in that roll, just try to get it in there. You can actually use your, there we go. Got that 1/4 inch. And I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see what I'm doing with the foot. Okay. Now this little edge here is just over just a little bit, and you just hold that so it's like a C shape, a backward C shape, 1/4 inch, and you just make sure that you keep it that 1/4 inch C shape as it's going through this rolled hem. And that sleeve's done. And we have one more sleeve to do. Now see, it didn't catch right here. What I would do is, if it didn't catch, is I would roll that over and just do a regular stitch on that, which I'll do once I have on my regular foot. But you can't fix it once it's already through the rolled hem foot. Okay, so we got that in. Foot down, hold the threads. And it started. Make sure that it's up in the right position. There we go. Make sure that it's C-shaped. A backward C is what we're looking for. 1/4 inch. Make sure that I had it on the right way. Please make a donation. And this would be the same way for regular clothes. It's any kind of clothing that you're doing, a dress that you're doing, whatever, you can use this rolled hem foot for that. They have larger rolled hems. This is just a little tiny rolled hem. They do have larger ones that are actually easier to use. Now since that's done, what I need to do is I need to put my elastic in. And it shows you on here that the elastic placement is about 1 inch. And you want that on that's the right side of the fabric. You want it on the wrong side of the fabric. I'm going to change our foot. And before I put on the elastic, I have a couple little spots that I wanted to fix on here that didn't roll over. So what we're going to do is we're going to just roll that over, and we're going to put down the foot, put that at the center, and we're going to just stitch that flat, and I'm going to cut that there. And there. And that's pretty much fixed. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one where it didn't catch. Sometimes when you first start out, it doesn't catch out at the first of the stitches. So I'm going to hold that right there. I'm going to stitch that. And stitch that nice and flat. Cut off the threads. And it's nice and flat. Okay, now to put in the elastic. 1 inch. So you want 1 inch. We're going to put this right about there. You can do less than 1 inch if you want. However much you want to hang over that's bunched up on the arm. I'm going to bring this elastic about 2 inches past the foot. Drop that down. Press the top button for needle down, and then I'm going to hold my elastic, and I'm going to put my, let me get that up, put my needle over, needle down, and now since it's there, I can actually pull on this and the fabric and pull on this to make it stretchy, and I'm just going to sew that while it's pulled open for my elastic. Needle down. I'm going to pull on that, pull on the skirt part, and keep on going. And one more time. All the way to the end. Now I'm not going to cut this off because it gives me something to pull. My needle's still down. I rotated it over, put the foot back down, do 2 stitches. You're still on the elastic. You're going to flip the, rotate it one more time, and you're going to go up the other side. Going to pull on that elastic. We're going to pull on the elastic here so it's all stretched open, and we're going to sew that right up the other side. And we're going to continue going. Okay. And we're going to finish it off. Stop. Rotate. Do a needle. Do another one. Rotate again. And we're going to go down to where we started. So we're going to put that foot down. We're going to grab that little piece of elastic, and we're going to grab this, and we're actually just going to sew that right down to where we started. Press the needle to have it go up, and that takes care of your elastic in the sleeve. You want to do the elastic in the sleeve and the rolled hem before you sew the sleeve up or do anything else with the sleeve. Now we're going to cut off the extra elastic right here, and we're going to cut off the extra elastic on the other end, and that takes care of that, and you have a nice elastic for the sleeve, so when it's closed you'll grab her wrist and it'll be all nice and frilly. So that's that sleeve done. Now we're going to do the other sleeve. Do it about the same, about an inch. Go 2 inches in, drop that, press the needle down, it's in. I'm going to grab that in the fabric, pull on that, and we're going to start sewing it. And we're going to keep on going.
I don't think that the
And once you get good at it, you can actually just do the elastic and keep on putting the tension on it and pulling it. Oops, going to need to back up a couple. Turn it. Okay. I'm going to rotate that around. Leave that right on there. Oops. Put your foot down. That helps. And we're going to pull on this, and we're going to just go right up the other side. And we're going to pull on that. Pull on that. And we're just going to bring that all the way up to the end. Went over the edge a little. Back that up a little. Rotate it. Okay, and come back down to the other side. Then grab that little thread there, get it out of the way. Okay. Put that foot down, pull that nice and tight, and go back to where you started. Needle up, and cut all the extra little threads. You want to cut that nice and close, and cut off the elastic on this side. And we're going to cut off any extra little threads that are hanging on the front and on the back. Don't need little girls chewing on it or pulling on them. And there's the other one. Now comes the gathering part. The gathering part I use, make sure I'm still recording. I'm going to back out just a hair. Okay, I use this twine for the gathering. And what I need is I need a piece that will go from black dot to black dot, maybe a little bit longer. I'm going to cut that, and what we're going to do, we'll do one sleeve at a time, and we're going to do a zigzag. So we hit the zigzag, that's the third button over, and then we make sure that the stitch length is about a 5, and that's the top bar that you move back and forth, and the bottom bar, we want to make sure that that is right in the middle. Now we're going to hang that thread over the edge by the black dot about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. We're going to put it underneath the foot. We're going to lower that foot, and that black thread or twine is going to be right at the V of that foot. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a zigzag all the way up. And you want to make sure that you don't stitch on, have the needle go through the black twine. It wants to go on both sides of it. Needle down, pick it up. Now we're going in the opposite direction. We're going to put that down, and we're going to do the same thing. Go in the other direction, down to the black dot. And this is going to be done on both sleeves. I'm not going to show you it in the video on both sleeves, but it will be done. What we're going to do is we're going to cut that off. And this is how I'm going to cut off the threads on this side also. And this is how we gather the fabric. Now I'm going to pin this. Well, actually I have to do this first. I'll be right back. I'm going to... Well, actually I can do it without doing that. We're going to have fabric, facing fabric on both sides. One there. And one there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually sew on this side, 1/4 inch. Oops. Hit my straight needle. Start from the beginning again. There we go. Needle down. And we're going to go this direction. All the way down to the shoulder. And we're going to snip it. And that's just on this side. So we got this side done. And now we're going to do the other side. Doing a straight stitch, 1/4 inch. Pivot all the way down to the shoulder. Cut that off. Cut that off. Okay. Now we have this shoulder done and this shoulder done. So now that's done. Now I can attach a sleeve onto here. So the way that we're going to attach the sleeve is you want fabric, the right side of the fabric, that's the wrong side. You want your right side up, and on the sleeve you want the right side down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to match up the black dot to the black dot, and we're going to pin it. And we're going to do the same thing on the other black dot. We're going to do black dot against black dot. Make sure your pin does not go through that black twine. Okay, now you have all this extra fabric. Now you can pull on the black thread and get that bunched up in the center. And we're going to keep on bunching it up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go about 1 inch in, and it's going to be... Sorry about that. My battery's died on me. And on this side, we're going to go 1 inch without it being gathered. And we're going to pin it. Like I said, we want all of our gathering in the center. So now this is pulled nice and tight with the gathering in the center. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a pin right in the center.
So happy to see you, to look at you. You're beautiful. You're about to burst.
And then we're going to do another one right here. And on this side.
It's not a person. Norman Kay is an island in the Bahamas, or what they say is very peaceful, and that's where Diego has his default. But I understand that you've got 100...
Okay, now since that's all pinned, what we're going to do is we're going to stitch that, and we're going to lower our foot right where the black dot is, and it's on a single stitch. We're going to have the top bar at 4, that's right between the 3 and the 5, that's our stitch length, and you can actually put it at 3 if you want. And then the bottom one, we're moving that moves your needle back and forth. We're going to move that all the way over to 3 also, so it's on this side. It'll be on this side of that black line. And I'm going to start stitching, and I'm going to try to make sure that I do not sew that black twine. And if that black twine moves a little bit, just take your little seam ripper and move that black twine over to the edge of the foot. And that right there. And we're going all the way down. And we're going to keep on sewing all the way to the other black dot. And we're done. Now we can pull that out. Cut those. Pull out all your pins. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut the white thread on this end that we started with, and then we're just going to pull that black thread right out of there. That black twine pulls right out, and when you flip it over, it's sewn onto your skirt, and it's going to be all nice and puckered up by the shoulder. And now all we have to do is, it's going to be fabric facing fabric. We're going to take this and we're going to sew all the way up. But before I do that, I have a serger. Some of you don't. If you don't have a serger, I'll show you how to do it on this real quick. What you're going to do is you're going to go and do an over. Press that on 6. We want the stitch length to be 3. We want the needle at 4. And what it's going to do is it will stitch, and you want to just do right on the edge so it catches the edge, and it will hold that fabric just like a serger. This is an over hem foot. What it does is it stitches it it doesn't work as nice as a serger because it doesn't have all the extra threads, but it will grab it enough that it will grab all of this so it doesn't keep fraying, and you can cut off all these little frays, pull them up, cut them off, and it won't fray anymore because you did that stitch on it, so it won't be able to fray any more than it already is. So you just clean it up and it will stay cleaned up like that, and it shouldn't fray anymore because that stitch, which is the 4th button over on the top, I don't know if you can see, the 4th button over on the top, set it at 3, set it at 4, and that will do, what it does is it does a stitch over, stitch over, and it basically does a stitch all the way on this edge and over, almost just like a serger. Drop my thing. But I do have a serger, so I'm going to slide this out of the way. Anyways, my video cut out on me the other day when I was trying to show you how to do the sleeve. This is a different shirt. I put actually buttons on this one. But I wanted to show you, I did the overcast stitch on the other video before it cut out. And I was going to show you how to do the serger. If you own a serger, all we're going to do, make sure that's still recording, is we're going to put that from the dot, make sure your needles are all the way up, and you're going to get that dot, if I can get it, where in the hell is it? Oh, way back there. Went too far. Anyways, I'm going to get that dot right there, push my lever in, lower my foot, and I'm just going to serge from dot to dot. And once we get from dot to dot, lift the foot. I'm going to cut that. Now the scissors, trim that off. And any other loose hanging threads. And that serger, I already sewed it with my regular sewing machine, but that serger cleans up that edge so there's no fraying, and the shoulder's done. So now I'm going to show you how to sew. What we're going to do now is, this one doesn't have an elastic in it, the other one that I showed you did. Like I said, I'm doing a different shirt because I cut out before I did the arm. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sew from here to here, all the way down to here where the dots are, and I'm going to go about a 1/4 inch past, and then I'm going to sew down the t-shirt, and that arm and that t-shirt will be done. I'm doing that on the regular sewing machine. I'm on a regular stitch, and we're going to do about a 1/4 inch stitch. And if you need to line up this a little better where the beginning is, just take a pin and put it there, and we're going to do a 1/4 inch stitch, and we're just going to, and I'm going to do a few back stitches on that, and we're going to go all the way up to there. And we have the needle, the top button pressed, so we have needle down, then turn it. We're going to go all the way up to where the stitches are. And you want to make sure the bottom side's facing the right way and that it's all lined up. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep on stitching that right to the stitches. We're going to pivot, and then oops, put your foot back down. It's beeping at me, I forgot to put my foot down. I'm going to pivot it, and we're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the skirt. You can do a few back stitches. Oops, press the top button, bring that needle up, and this side is done. And you can pull it out after you do what I usually do is use my serger now, since I have one. But if I had a sewing machine, what I would do is I'd do an overcast stitch on this, so if it frayed, the frays won't go anywhere. But with the serger, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put it in here, lower my foot, and I'm just going to serge that to the elbow area, lift my foot a little, turn, put my foot back down, and right in the corner here, what you're going to do is you're going to have all this material go into a straight line. So we're going to just keep on doing that, and right down the bottom. Make sure my needles are up. And like I said, that's a straight line. I went right straight on past to there, and this is all sewn in and lock-in, and I have it all nice and serged so that the blouse will be nice. Now when I pull that through, you're going to have a nice blouse with an arm. Okay, I'm back. I did the other arm, and I serged it all on there, and we're going to turn that right side out. So now both arms are done. The right and left are both done the exact same way. Cut off any extra little strands of threads hanging. So that's all nice and pretty. Now on the back side, I still need to put on the Velcro. So what I did is I went over to the iron. I ironed over a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch, and I did that on both sides. And now I have my Velcro. And my Velcro, I want that about a 1/2 inch from the top and about a 1/2 inch from the bottom. So right about there. Might be a little bit more than a 1/2 inch. So let's say about 3/4 inch and 3/4 inch. Now what I'm going to do is make sure that this is lined up right on here, because I am actually going to take this and I'm actually going to cut it right down the center, because I don't need the full amount of it. Half of it will keep that shirt of the dress, the blouse part of the dress, closed. So now I have enough there for 2 dresses. And what I like to do is this side will have the fluffy stuff on it, which will be on the top of the print, and this side will be on the inside where the fold is, and what happens is it comes down and closes. So let's sew this on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move, it's on a straight stitch. I have it set at 4 for my stitch length, that's the top bar, and then on the top part I have it set over to the 5, and I have that about 3/4 inch and 3/4 inch from the top and bottom, and I have just a sliver of the blouse showing on the edge. And we're going to bring that in there, drop that down, press the top button for needle down in case we stop, and what we're going to do is we're just going to sew that on, and we're going to go past the Velcro all the way down to the very bottom, pivot it, do 2 stitches, pivot again, and we're going to come up the other side of the Velcro. So both sides of the Velcro are nice and secure. And on this side, I'm going to cut these little threads right off. We're going to come up past the Velcro again, all the way to the collar, pivot it, come down, do a couple stitches, pivot again, and come back down to where we started. Press the top button, needle up, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So that is all taken care of. So on this side, it's going to be on the inside. We're going to do about the same distance down, and we're going to do it the exact same way. We're going to have just a hair of the dress part showing. Bring that right in there. Drop that. Press the top button. Okay. And we're going to sew that all the way down and pass, just like we did on the other side. Pivot. Pivot again. And come up the other side. And we're going to go all the way past again. One more. And we're going to pivot it. Do a couple stitches, and then back down to where we started. Press the top button, pull that out, cut all those strands off, and now you have your closure on your top. Now we have to deal with the collar. You can iron the collar over 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch and sew it, or you can take your rolled hem foot and do a rolled hem. Put that on a straight stitch. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that rolled hem, put that right in there, and do a rolled hem right on the collar itself. So we're going to drop that down. And it's going to beep until that fabric, whoops, make sure that you're, there we go. In there, right? Make sure it's in your rolled hem foot right. Have that little C, the backward C, about a 1/4 inch, and we're going to go all the way, and we're going to go right through where the seams are. The seams should go right in there. And we're going to hold that up. I'm going to take a pen and pull that back up in there.
I am very happy at what I do. I manage projects for the hospitals. Sometimes I do have to go out and contact their clients. So what I enjoy most about my job is that I actually get to use the tools that I learned at ITT Tech. Pursuing a career has made a difference in my life. The job that I have now is actually providing for me and my son in ways that I have never had before.
Back up in there.
He works hard so that way he can have a good life.
Make sure that you got a nice roll.
People build a foundation for the rest of their lives. ITT Technical Institute, education for the future. Find out more at 1-800-488-3622.
There we go. Now on the collar it's going to be a little bit difficult because you do have the seams and stuff in the curve of the collar. So just take your time and go slow, and you will get past those seams and you will get past the curve of the collar just by going slower. Okay. And that takes care of that. And I can snip that off. Now, it doesn't. The collar here does not have to be perfect, because what I do is I have, excuse me, I have different little ribbons, like this one, that I am going to use to sew onto the collar. So what I want to do is I want to fold over that ribbon, and I'm going to sew that with a straight stitch. I'm going to change my needle. Put my regular foot on there, and I'm going to, best way to do this is if you have a little piece of tape, just enough tape to hold that in place right there, and what we're going to do is we're going to sew on that. And a few back stitches. I'm going to back it all the way up to the beginning and go over it one more time. Now I can pull that off, and I stitch through that tape, but that tape will rip right off of there, and you won't see the tape because it's going to be actually sewn down. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And I can actually use the exact same tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this on about halfway down. Start at the beginning. And if you wanted to make sure that you have it right, you can actually take pins and pin this into place all the way around your collar. It takes a little bit more time, but you're going to be sure that it's even all the way around the collar by pinning it. Okay. Oops, dropped the pen. Will keeps finding pens on my floor. Keep apologizing to him, but it keeps on happening.
Hey, Billy, what I was thinking, I was remembering that time we flew into Mexico. You remember that freaking landing strip? Right? We're getting tired. We're much better now.
And this takes a little bit of time to pin these into place.
What the heck? What's the long face?
I'll probably cut out most of this out of my video. Ow. One there. And you can put your ribbon on any way that you want. I'm actually going to cut this a little bit past right there. Now I'm going to fold that over to where I need it. And I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to tape it, just like I did the other side.
Set up by the FBI and the DEA. That didn't bother me. Set up by Kevin Dooley and Derek for real to save their own asses. That didn't bother me. Sentenced to 60 years.
Okay. And now we're going to stitch that into place. And I'm going to back up. And go over it again. Okay. Now I can lift that tape off. And I can pin that right to the end. And with this here, I am going to sew it right down the center where most of the fabric is. And we're just going to sew that all the way down. Okay guys, well, I got the collar all secured on there, sewed on, which was very easy. I did my rolled hem, pinned this on, I rolled over the edges and sewed those, and now that the Velcro's on the back, if I put a little piece of Velcro here and here, that will close up the collar so it stays nice and closed and you have your collar. So the top is basically done. Now it's to gather up the skirt and attach the skirt to the dress. Now we already did the rolled hem on one side. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take and go on the opposite side that doesn't have the rolled hem, and we're going to take a piece of twine and we're going to have that about 2 inches longer than the fabric, and we're going to set up a zigzag, and we're going to press it on the 3 stitch length. I want on 4, and the zigzag I want on 5. And I am going to stick this, have the black twine hang about an inch over the edge, and we're going to drop that foot down, make sure that the black twine's right in the center, hit the top button to needle down, and we're going to do a couple of stitches, and then we're just going to sew this right on. Make sure that your twine stays in the center, and you can go slower if you Okay people, it's me again. Okay, I sewed in the zigzag on the skirt, like I said I would. I had the blouse upside down within the skirt, and what I did is where the seam is on the blouse, I matched up the Velcro part and I pinned my first pin, and I pulled these strings so they were nice and made ruffles all the way around, and then I pinned a pin on the opposite side, and then what I did is I made sure my ruffles were even all the way on this side and pinned, and all the way on this side and pinned. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my table, because we can't do it with the table in there, and we're going to start by sticking the body up into the sleeve arm, and we're going to bring that right up, and we're going to lower that foot down, the pin heads, if they're down too far, just move them up as you're sewing. Okay, we're going to put needle down. We have that. We have the needle on the 4, the top on the 3. Make sure that I'm stepping on the right foot pedal. I have 2 machines here. Okay. Now we're going to just sew this. And make sure that you do not sew on the black twine. Use your little seam ripper, the point of it, and move that black twine over so it's on the right side of the needle. Because we're going to want to pull that black twine out after we sew this up. That black twine should be right on the edge of that, on the edge of the inside of the foot, with the needle to the left of it. And we're going to go all the way around the skirt. It's all pinned, so it's not going to shift or anything. It's going to be ruffled all the way around. Okay, we're almost back to where we started. Once we get there, what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to do a couple of back stitches. And a couple of forward stitches. Needle up. We can pull that out. Cut that. What we're going to do is we're going to pull out all these pins. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull, if we can, that seems like I stitched on it somewhere. And if you stitched on it, what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors, your curved scissors, and you're going to cut your black. You're going to get in there and just cut the black only. And if you have to, take your seam ripper and pull out a couple of stitches, and we can always sew that back in. There we go. That's exactly where I stitched it in. Pull that out. I'm going to put that back in there because I ripped out those seams. And I'm just going to stitch right where I ripped it out. There. Okay. Now it should pull right out. Yeah, it pulled right out. It's all in there. We pull it right side out. We got ruffles all the way around. A couple of strings. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and either on your sewing machine or on your serger, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this fringe, all this extra stuff, and I'm going to trim that off. And I'm either going to take my serger and serge this so it stays nice and clean, or I'm going to do an overcast stitch to keep it clean. The overcast stitch will also prevent fraying. Since I have my serger, I'm going to use my serger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right in here, put this in all the way. I'm going to drop my foot.
Thank you very much.
And I'm just going to go around in a circle. And that's all we're going to do is we're going to catch that on the serger or overcast so it stays nice and clean, so there's no more fraying. And we're going to bring that all the way back to where we started. Lift that up, pull it out, cut it off, cut this off. Now you have no fraying. It's all nice and clean. You can close that. And the dress is done for the doll. She got the skirt on there with the ruffles all the way around. She got her little shoulders that are ruffled up on both sides. And she's ready to be put on the doll. So that's it. That's how you make the dress.